feminist, from not overshadowing your personality. You know how good you are from taking side with being a female and taking that road to the extreme. And just balancing it in life. If you see a young man in your field or that is coming up, will you give him the same opportunity as the female that is coming up? Will you balance that? Do you balance that in your field?
Because, you know, the idea of diversity, when you really look at it, it really is just a subset of inclusion. And that's not like include the black person, include the female. It's include the person that's different. So if in your space there are 10 guys and 1 girl, it is their responsibility as the majority to be slightly more inclusive to the person that's different. But at the same time, that person, and I hate to use this term because I'm not the biggest fan of it, but that individual that's the minority has to also lean in, right? As Sheryl Sandberg's stuff is, I'm sure you've heard plenty about it. That individual has to lean in, so it's a tango. You know, I use the terminology tight tango, right? Because both people have, or both sides have to do their job. But what I would recommend to everybody here is to check out a website called understandingprejudice.org. I'm not at all affiliated with them, but the reason I like them, and I think this is the scientist in me, is they look at prejudice from a scientific perspective. They study from a scientific perspective to understand what causes people to have prejudice, right? And how that affects their decision making. So obviously, you know, the article where I stumbled upon it had to deal with all the latest on, you know, shooting of young black men and why that's happening. And the reason I appreciate the article is as a biracial child, I sometimes have a hard time listening to race conversations where it's always one side against the other. Like, let's discuss what's causing this, you know, as a human being, right? And it's the idea of unconscious bias and what causes you to be that biased, and in that sense makes you make certain decisions that you think are right, but they're influenced heavily by your experiences and the things that, the negativities that you've experienced in your life that sway you in one direction or other, right? And I went on there and took the test. They have a test on there that will let you see how biased you are against women and how biased you are against blacks, or whites, vice versa. And it's a sliding scale. And, you know, I would hope that, well, first off, you're not going to go on there and find out you're not biased. But what I would hope for everybody is that they find out that they're as biased or not biased that they think they are. What's scary is the people that don't think they are, right? If you know that you're slightly biased towards black people, that's fine. Understand what your bias is and learn to be as impartial as you can in your decision making so that you can be fair to a male employee if you're a female manager, right? I've been in plenty of situations. I've had male coaches my whole life, and so many times have I felt like, okay, you know, I got a guy that's, you know, he's a male and he's got a complex with being in charge, and so me being a point guard, a leader on the team, sometimes we butt heads. You know, and some people I felt like, you know what, if you had a male point guard, you wouldn't be treating him like this. You'd give him more leash to have reign over his team. You know what I mean? And so I think that, you know, that sometimes stems from an unconscious bias towards women. Was he a great guy? Yeah. Did he do it on purpose? Absolutely not. But understanding where you are and just going from that place to treating people a certain way is what you can do to fix the problem. You know, you can't sit there and say, oh, well, this person sucks and that person sucks and this person did this to me. The only way you can fix it is you start by you being better. Pass on that knowledge, information to others, understand prejudice.org. Let them go and learn about their biases and then encourage them to be a little more appropriate. I wouldn't say email your boss, tell her to take the test. But you know, you can leave a little sticky note on the water cooler, you know, on her mailbox, you know, send her little Inclusion and Diversity Inc. magazines every couple of months. But you know, you gotta pass that on. And so for me, you know, I try to be conscious of that bias the bias that I have when I'm trying to make impartial decisions, which is what you're supposed to be seeking.
Terry Goolsby, I'm a lifelong Prince George and Rebecca, born and raised here in Greenbelt. And my question is about whistleblowing. What's your experience with whistleblowing? And corollary corruption with your institutions that you've either seen or are currently
whistleblowing corruption in general. Okay, all right. The company has a great set up where you can call into this, a line anonymously and a helpline online that you can refer an issue to. And I've had to take that action because as a leader in the business, once I'm aware of something, it's my responsibility then to expose the issue and do something about it.
Have I blown the whistle? No, partially because I wasn't exactly sure, or maybe you don't want to rock the boat, if you don't really have enough evidence to do that. Corruption, I know I've heard of teachers who are kind of just in it for a paycheck. I don't understand why a teacher would be in it for a paycheck. It's not a paycheck. But there really are teachers who come there and they sit and they don't teach. They don't do anything. And I think that that's the kind of whistleblowing that needs to happen, absolutely. And the corruption, you'll hear different things with public schools versus charter schools versus private schools. Are they really outperforming these schools, or do they have things in writing in place that allow it to look that way, that allow them to bring in a certain class of students that makes it look like their school is truly outperforming? So those are the different nuances that you'll see. I don't think the whistle is blown enough. I don't think people really dig too much in it. It's kind of like, oh, let's just sweep that under the rug for now, and not rock the boat.